How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the Beyond the Arc podcast, celebrating 20 episodes of this season. Who'd have thunk that we'd get this far in and still be doing it? Not me. I'm joined again with Sully, who we had to give a little bit of leeway for. We're recording this on the Friday, the 29th. This should be going out on Saturday the 30th. If you checked our Instagram yesterday, you'll have seen that it's because Sully couldn't. It's half because Sully couldn't get recording, but it's also partly because we wanted to see how some of the series would finish out before we go and comment on all of them. So, and well, in the end, it kind of worked out for us, didn't it?
100%.
The 3-game sixes ended up resulting in Dallas, Phoenix, and Philly heading through to the next round of the playoffs. It's starting to heat up a little bit. There are 7 teams confirmed through to the playoffs now. One will be either confirmed tonight between Memphis and Minnesota, or on Sunday if we get the first Game 7 of this season's playoffs. Just quickly, what do you think is going to happen with that one? Why don't we just get straight into talking about that Memphis-Minnesota series? It's been a mental series, hasn't it?
It really has. It's been so back and forth, and it's hard to predict. I mean, seeing the way Memphis played last game, you'd think they'd take that heat into the game 6 and maybe just kill it off. But because this series has been so back and forth, both teams giving punch after punch, I don't know. It could go to game 7. I would like it to, just for the, the sense of win or go home. But I mean, I feel like Memphis might do it tonight. I'll be honest.
Fair enough. I mean, I'd personally say, and I'm not sure if this is a hot take or anything, but Minnesota have probably been the better team throughout this series so far. They just
Haven't been bad. They have not been bad at all.
when it's counted, they just haven't really pulled through. I don't think I could count on one hand the amount of 20-point leads that they've blown over the last 5 games. It's been absolutely mental. They could have been 4-1 up. Instead, they're 3-2 down, and they're now having to win back-to-back games. I think they'll be able to get it done in Minnesota tonight.
You reckon? I'd like it to happen just because I want to see the game 7 happen.
Yeah, I mean, we thought there'd be a few more game 7s this time round, but in the end, we might not even get any in the first round. So let's hope that Minnesota end up winning, so we can pull through on a game 7. Plus, also that means that we can go and predict the Golden State series next week before game 1 even happens, maybe. So
hopefully,
look, Minnesota, I know you're fans of the Beyond the Arc podcast.
I know you're watching this right now.
Just win tonight. I mean, the podcast will already be out by the time that the game's finished. So you never know. I'll just DM Kat on the podcast.
I was just gonna say you might have to DM him. Yeah. I know he's a regular in your DMs, anyways.
Yeah. So, again, keeping with that series, do we reckon that Ja Morant's dunk on Malik Beasley is the best dunk of the year?
It has to be up there. But the thing is, he's competing with himself, if I'm being honest. So many posters this year have been Ja and Ja and Ja, and then LeBron, and then Ja again. So it's not about is it the best dunk of the year, it's which Ja dunk is the best, because the guy has just posted half of the NBA. And I mean, Beasley took the last shot that someone's taken from a Ja poster, and it probably was the worst one.
Yeah,
because
it was crazy. It's like what the Kevin Love one was, but he just ultimately didn't make that one, and this one he just rose up, posted him. It's the fact that I think the best posters, in my opinion, always come when the defenders stood trying to call a charge like this, and he just bang, and he's down,
and they just end up just flat on the ground.
And it's just dead for them. And
that was just a violation from Ja. But that's what he's been coming this year. He's just been absolutely putting people in the ground, almost like he's a villain, but people are loving it. So he's taken that other narrative, and
I
the
guess.
guy's been crazy.
Well, and that's why he's won Most Improved Player, you may say, this year,
Mm,
which I did predict. So I'm
you
one up.
did,
I'm one
you
up on
did.
that one, which is a good thing. Again, I mean, we talked about it last week. We don't think it's deserved, do we?
No,
I
I
mean, it's
mean,
deserved in the way that he has improved very much this year, but you never give the
of
most
course,
improved to someone who we know that
was
he's
good,
capable of that kind of
and then is
thing.
still good.
I
Yeah,
mean, he ended
he
up
did,
giving that most improved player to Desmond Bain. He ended up giving his trophy to Desmond Bain.
and I liked that. I liked that.
So whereas the history books will say that Ja Morant won most improved player,
Mm,
the trophy's in Desmond Bain's house. So,
yeah,
um,
everyone will remember
and let's be honest,
as
I
well.
think Desmond Bain was probably snubbed of that top three. You know,
Yeah,
we talked about
100%,
we spent a
100%.
lot of time talking about Jordan Poole last week,
Mm,
but I think Desmond Bain could have been someone who was in that top three. And there was, it's been a crazy year in the way that there's been so many players that could have been shortlisted for that. There've been
100%.
like usually when it comes to these votes, usually get about like 5 people in contention. There was a good like when I remember looking at the actual like rankings of where the votes went. And
Mm.
genuinely, it could have gone anywhere. I'll try and let me try and get it up. Um, I've no idea how far I'll be scrolling on Instagram for this one, but yeah, I can try it go. Meanwhile, Scotty Barnes ended up winning Rookie of the Year in
Yeah,
the closest Rookie of the Year vote to date.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Um,
Which I think that proves how competitive,
yeah,
you know.
that's what I was gonna say. Do
Mm.
we reckon it's because everyone was so competitive, or do we reckon that sorry, it's because people were competitive, but is this in a good way or in a bad way? Do we think it's
Oh,
been a
100% in a great way.
yeah?
Like, I think because rookies will take this into consideration now. Every time they step into the NBA, it's not just going to be a one-man show or a two-man. It's going to be every rookie will have to show out. And I think this year, and especially last year, because obviously, even though it was mainly two rookies with Anthony Edwards and Melo, like it was neck and neck the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now, especially, obviously, like you said, it's the closest one ever. I think that's just going to make people think, right, okay, we need to step up and be better than just rookie of the year. We need to be one of the best players in the team, maybe in the even NBA.
Yeah,
And I'm excited. I think that excites me for the future of like the rookies and stuff because it's gonna change the way they come in the NBA and how aggressive they are and how hungry they are. And that for me and any team in the NBA will be seeing that and thinking, yeah, this is a good time to get like the first, second, third round draft pick.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think when it actually came down to it, he won by like 5 votes.
Which is mad.
Um,
That is really
and
mad.
then also obviously discounting the fact that you have Cade Cunningham in there too. I saw
Yeah.
something that was like that said Scotty Barnes is this year's Rookie of the Year, but Cade Cunningham will be the best player in the draft class, which I kind of agree with.
Mm,
I feel like when Cade came in, it's a case of this is a guy who is got franchise player written all over him, but because he
yeah.
came in so late,
Yeah.
quite a
100%.
hard thing to.
And he had a rough beginning as well. He had a
Yeah,
rough time at the start.
yeah, that is true. That is true.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember we made a video on that one, didn't we?
Mm.
Yeah,
We were smoking him. I can't even lie.
and then he came back and responded. Then fair enough.
100%. He definitely watched. Kat sent him the link to the episode and was like, "Yo, you better watch this."
Why would how would that situation? Why would Cat know Cade Cunningham?
Well, like obviously they're both in the NBA. Like they might have swapped jerseys one time or something.
All right, okay,
And
that's understandable. Maybe I don't know. I'm waffling. Anyway, yeah, I can't find. I'm not gonna bother trying to find
it's
the
all good.
most improved player rankings. Maybe I should have done my research before. Who knows? But yeah, there was a lot of people in there. But Desmond Bain, yeah, I do feel like he was snubbed from that top three. Um,
Mm.
so maybe him getting the trophy will soften them tears a little bit.
100%.
And obviously
But
Memphis potentially getting through to the Eastern Conference
semis
semis
would.
would help that too. But I don't think I don't think facing Golden State in the next round will really help them much.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the current last remaining series of the first round is kind of like a death wish.
Mm.
It's a lose-lose situation. Like, if you lose the series, you go home. If you win the series, you're probably going home
Yeah,
in the semis anyway. It's
yeah.
kind of, it's one of them. I mean, you'd like to, root for the underdog, but you really can't, especially the way Golden State came in that last series. Like, you really cannot, like, expect either Memphis or Minnesota to beat them in a seven. And I mean, that's kind of, um, I wouldn't say a shame, but it's like, it's kind of down putting for those teams because you like to root for the underdog
It's
sometimes. But
it's reminding me back to like the old, well, I say old, like 4 or 5 years ago when
yeah,
you would root for everybody but Golden State. I mean, maybe you wouldn't because I know that you kind of like Golden State a little bit, but
mm,
as a fan of the underdog, you would root for anyone other than Golden State.
yeah,
I remember like the
and it would
Portland
just,
days, the New Orleans,
mm,
back when New Orleans and Portland had come against him, and it's just a kind of case of can you really be bothered? Like,
yeah, it's just like rooting for the sake of rooting, but it never used to work, and it's yeah, it's looking like that again. It really is looking like that again,
hmm
and especially like so obviously now, as we mentioned in the last episode as well, Jordan Poole, the third Splash brother now, in our opinion,
hmm
guy's crazy. The guy was easily, in my opinion, probably the best player overall in the first round
hmm
in terms of no one expected him to be that good. First proper playoffs, and the guy was crazy. And the way they just pretty much, obviously they took that one L, but just sweeping Denver aside, like yeah, we don't, you guys are nothing with the current MVP on that side as well, potentially the next MVP. Like
hmm
it's mad. It really is mad.
Well,
But
the series wasn't as one-sided after the first two games. That's when we made the last
yeah,
video after Golden State went 2 up, and they'd won both games by almost like 20 points. And then it did end up getting a little bit close. That game 5, I recall.
yeah,
Um, Denver were up significantly before the fourth quarter, and
they
then
were.
even tried to make a run at the end of the fourth with Jokic. But in the end, like I said, Jokic's help isn't good enough at the
Yeah,
moment,
it really
especially with
isn't.
Jamal Murray still out. I did predict that they might win 2 games, but in the end, Golden State ended up getting the job done in 5. Um,
Mm,
Steph Curry's back in the starting lineup is another thing that happened in Game 5. He did Steph Curry things, finished with a 30 piece.
yeah,
And do we think now with Steph in that starting 5, it's just done out for the rest of the league
yeah.
now?
It's. I mean, when you look at that starting five as well, Clay, Jordan, Steph, Andrew, and then Draymond, it's like it's 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 ropes for whoever comes against
Mhm.
them. But it makes for a really good conference final because let's be honest, it will be the Suns and the Warriors, and I think that as a 7 game series will
Mhm.
be
Yeah, it's gonna be
one of the
banger.
best conference finals we will see in a very very long time.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, Phoenix ended up getting through in that game 6 last night. Personally, I was having a bit of a think about what I might say about this. I think that this is going to be, and this is even including a potential Golden State series, the hardest series that Phoenix will have, in my opinion. That might be a hot take. Well, it definitely is a hot take. Um, but I think just because being that number 1 seed against a team who won 35 games all season, which never
yeah,
usually gets you in the playoffs, if the play-in weren't a thing, they won't even be
mm,
in the playoffs. New Orleans had nothing to lose throughout this first
100%,
season. Everyone expected them to go home, and
100%.
everyone was expecting Phoenix to destroy them. So all of the pressure was on Phoenix, no pressure on New
Mm,
Orleans, and it ended up being a very entertaining series that was taken to 6 games. It's put some players that wouldn't usually get the spotlight because, let's be honest, they play for New Orleans, and when Zion isn't playing in the regular
no
season,
one cares about
no
him.
one cares about the New Orleans Pelicans. So it's put a few of their players on the map. I think people are starting to realize that Brandon Ingram very much is an all-star caliber player.
Yeah.
Jose Alvarado is potentially going to be one of those solid backup role players, like a Patrick Beverley. He's a young Patrick Beverley, in my opinion. He's just one of those players that I think at the moment people are liking because of what he does. But
I think he'll turn
let's be
into a
honest, he will
villain
turn into
eventually.
one of those villain kind of players. Yeah, when
Yeah.
we recorded that last episode, we talked about how Chris Paul scouted that Alvarado come behind steal in game 1 and told him
Yeah.
to get out of it. And then, well, he ended up coming back to bite him. It ended
Not
up
getting
happening.
out of here. He came back.
Yeah. So, look, I think New Orleans can leave with their head held high with a very interesting look to next season
100%.
if Zion comes back.
I mean, that's the thing now. Surely, if you're a New Orleans fan, you're gonna be mad at Zion because we've all seen the training videos.
Well,
We know the guys.
let's be honest. I don't think it's Zion's fault. I think Zion was ready to play. I just don't think he was in the Pelicans' plans. Which, I mean, fair enough. Once you win that first game without Zion,
Yeah.
you're thinking maybe this is something that we can do without him, and then maybe look to bring him back in the second series. Especially given that, like I said, this wasn't a championship or bust season for
Yeah.
the
True.
Pelicans. It wasn't a case of when they brought in CJ McCollum, they were like, right, we're making a championship run now. They very much are looking forward to next season when the likes of
100%.
potentially Zion are back. Jackson Hayes will have an extra year under his belt.
Yeah.
Players like that are just improving, and I think they could prove to be a dark horse next season. Definitely produced a way more entertaining series than anyone was expecting in there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But in the end, Phoenix did end up coming through and winning, and the point guard is the point guard.
Of course, he was never gonna let down.
That game 6, bookending it with a playoff record of most consecutive field goals made in a game without missing.
Wow.
He ended with 14 of 14. Devin Booker ended up coming back as well, that game 6. Obviously, he was missing for a little bit. Missed part of game 3 and then games 4 and 5 as well. So yeah, he's back now, and I think that's a very good thing for Phoenix. When someone goes down injured in the playoff series, you fear the worst. But
100%.
now Booker's back, they can focus on getting going, try and get rid of the Mavericks in as little games as possible, which I think they could do easily. I do think that Dallas on their day can be amazing, but they just don't have many of those days in the playoffs.
100%. I completely agree, and I think the only reason why they were held to 6 games in that last series against Utah is mainly because their main man was missing, as we both mentioned.
For a little bit,
yeah. And even then, they did okay without their main guy. But then as soon as he came back, they killed off the series nicely as well. And I think even though, like, we will have Luka for Dallas in the semifinals, I think Phoenix will probably hit them in 5, simply because their team is just so rounded.
Mm-hmm.
Like we mentioned, obviously best record in the NBA, amazing squad. Booker's back, and they'll be wanna get revenge on last year after reaching the finals and ultimately just getting nothing out of it.
Yeah.
So they'll want to kill these teams off as quick as possible, and now because they got held to 6 against a team that everyone thought they were going to pretty much sweep.
Yeah, they're going to go out there and destroy
show
them now.
people.
Especially like last season, they swept the Nuggets. Sorry, not the Mavericks.
Yeah.
They swept the Nuggets semifinals, and well, they still had Jokic.
100%.
Who's saying that they can't potentially sweep the Mavericks here with Luka still there.
100%.
They still have just Jalen Brunson though. We talked about Jalen Brunson last episode. We'll talk. Yeah. We'll move straight on to Dallas Utah now, I guess. We talked about Jalen Brunson last episode, and we said maybe he was just doing it because Luka wasn't there, but Luka's come back and he's still managing to keep it going. He averaged just over 28 points in the series, but obviously dropping 44 in one of the games is really going to help boost that, you know. Yeah, I
100%.
was looking at DeMar, like just a bit of an off topic before we talk about DeMar and that. I was looking at DeMar DeRozan's stats, and he'd averaged like 20 points, and I was like, "There's no way in hell he's managed to average 20 points in the 5 games." But obviously, he hit that 40 bomb, didn't he? So,
Yeah.
but he still managed to pull through, and in the end, Dallas did go through, but I'd say more on the basis that Utah choked it.
Oh yeah, completely. I completely agree. I think that series could have easily gone to Game 7, and I think it should have. I think Utah just the pressure got to them. They couldn't handle it. But these things happen, and like we've said many times, like everyone says, Utah are just not built for the playoffs. And you know, fair enough to them. They did okay. They got 6 games in, but I feel like whether they are Utah or not, whether they're built for the playoffs or not, they should have taken it to 7, and they should have also capitalized on the fact
I
that
was gonna
Dallas.
say, yeah, the first 3 games in that,
Mm,
you're without Luca. Then game 4, when Luca comes back, you win that game. As the Utah Jazz,
mm.
you're thinking, we should be fine.
They should, and that's what I mean. And I feel like the players just lost confidence
Yeah,
because they just, for whatever reason, to be honest, I can't even say because I don't know what happened. But all I do know is that, like you said, Utah choked it more than Dallas beating them,
yeah,
which is a shame because everyone would have liked to see that upset. Just because it would have been like nice to actually see Utah go past the first round for once. And I mean, ultimately they didn't, but these things happen
yeah,
to the Utah Jazz especially.
yeah. So now we talked about there was a beef on the Jazz. If you don't know what we're talking about, you should check out our TikTok. Links in the description. Um, we said that there's potential this team might break up again. Well, again, this team might break up at the end of the
Mm,
season. The reports are saying that Donovan Mitchell might want out. Where are we thinking is a decent fit for him?
good question. If I'm Donovan Mitchell, I want to go to a team that either needs help or is almost there, just needs that slight edge. Now, you could take it in a way of maybe he could go to a team like Chicago, already doing well, just need that slight edge to push them to make them a little bit better than the competition ahead of them. Like we mentioned, they were good throughout the season with everyone beneath them, but everyone above them, not really amazing, like we saw in their first round. Or maybe a team that needs a lot of help, but like you can see where the places are, somewhere like LA. We know they need people who can score that aren't LeBron. And we also know they're looking to probably trade out Westbrook. That trade could happen. I mean, who knows? But I feel like if you're definitely Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, you're looking to leave Jazz.
Mhm.
Jazz 100%. You're looking to leave.
In my opinion, I think it goes one of 2 extremes, and those 2 extremes are New York or Atlanta,
Oh
and that's some of the ones that I've been seeing in the
yeah.
in the media. If Mitchell goes to New York, he's going to be their main guy,
Oh 100%.
which I guess is probably what he needs. If he goes
Yeah.
to Atlanta, you've got um someone who obviously, like Trey Young, is the main guy on that team. Obviously,
Mm,
Trey Young is one of the best passers in the league as well. So, he is unselfish. He's not as greedy as Mitchell is said to be.
mm,
Um, but obviously, it depends on cap space, and it also depends on if he actually wants to go there. I think Atlanta is probably the best option for him, and the best option for Atlanta too, because in that way, trading him to Atlanta doesn't destroy Atlanta's rebuild, like their young core. If they can try and like get Mitchell for without getting rid of say Capella or
Yeah.
Collins or anyone like that, they could probably get rid of like Bogdanovic, maybe Kevin Herter too.
Mm.
They're two shooting guards. If they can get him without getting rid of a few of their decent young players, they can get a build upon that without making their team too old. You know, Mitchell's one of the best young stars in the NBA at the moment. You know, he's not one of those
Yeah.
where we're saying like Rudy Gobert maybe. You know, his career's running down. He might not have
Mm.
as much trade value. Mitchell is going to have a lot of trade value. He's had a bad series, all intents and purposes, but so has Utah. So I don't think anything can be said of that.
100%.
But it has been shown in the past that Donovan does deserve better than constant first round eliminations. I'm thinking back to the bubble series against Denver.
Yeah.
That was one of the maddest series I think I've ever watched. So yeah, and Mitchell played his heart out in that one. So yeah, I do think Mitchell's gonna leave. I do think it's gonna be to either one of those clubs. If he goes to New York, that'd be interesting. They put New
That
York
would
back.
be
New
amazing.
York
You know how
properly
much I
back
would
on the
like
map.
that. You know how much I would like that to happen as well. That would be crazy, but I think they would need to do a lot to convince him to go to New York because a lot of people think New York are probably past saving at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know. You could argue for or against, but I think if they were to acquire Mitchell somehow, you'd like to think that they'd still have the core that they've got, but I feel like they have to do some sort of trade, like maybe give them RJ Barrett or something. So they'd have to like switch around the team,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately, I think there wouldn't be enough help for him at New York anyway. So I feel like it'd just be him going in a downward spiral rather than upwards.
Yeah.
But if they could somehow do it in the sense that he goes to New York with the team as it is now, and then maybe acquire, a couple more assets to build around him, because like you said, he's going to be the main guy. He's going to be the number one guy. Then who knows? They could be onto something. But I feel like as well, if that was to happen, they'd have to let him know this is going to be a process. It's not going to be a 1 year thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen straight away.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a 2, 3, maybe even 4 year process, but it's going to be a process that you would be like in the limelight as the guy who saved New York and brought New York
Mm-hmm.
after years and years of pain and whatever. And I mean, who knows? That would be crazy if that happened, but that would be amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to Phoenix Dallas. What are we predicting then?
Phoenix Dallas. I'm thinking Phoenix are gonna pull off the five game victory.
Okay. I'm gonna just delete what I wrote and say that I'm gonna say Phoenix in 6. um, no, I mean, oh man, that's a tough one now because I don't want to predict the same as you, but
Well, I mean,
I genuinely feel no, I don't want you to change it. You know,
no, I'm not gonna change it. I was just gonna say I was in between a sweep and a five
yeah,
game. The only reason I chose a 5 game is because I think there might just be one game in Dallas where
Luca
like
goes mental,
Luca
like we
goes
know that
like
Luca can do,
full Dirk
or
mode and just something.
you
But
you never know. Within 5 games, Scott Foster might just officiate one of them. So that's an instant
I
L for
mean,
Phoenix.
there's always a chance of that happening too. But I mean, who
Okay,
knows?
so
Like the
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna say 6, and I'm gonna say that Luca's gonna have a mad game,
mm.
and in one of the games, and Scott Foster's gonna referee another one.
To be honest, they could take the 2 games at home.
Yeah, they could.
Like that's not ridiculous to like think about. They could take those 2 games.
Yeah.
Like especially the way that they usually perform at home. Like we know the Dallas home crowd is amazing, and you know
Mm-hmm.
how much they hype up Luca and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and they could take those 2 home games.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm gonna go with So I'm gonna go with 6 to counteract your 5. So then we'll head over to the East then. We did touch a little bit on Atlanta there.
Mm.
Do we think that Donovan Mitchell is going to want to go and play with Trae Young after the big stinker that he threw up in the playoffs this year.
I mean, he got locked up. He really got locked up against Miami.
I think
But
this is the biggest disappointment in
yeah,
the whole playoffs. Everyone was expecting maybe Atlanta to be a bit of a surprise package like last year, albeit
a
from
lot
a
of people,
lower position.
thought that. Mm.
But again, I think a lot of people, myself included, just underestimate Miami all of the time.
100%. But I think it was more of a case of Miami just got it perfectly
Yeah,
right
yeah,
when it came to Trey. Like Trey said in the interview, I've not been guarded this much since I was in high school.
yeah,
Like, so like they really focused. They knew, okay, if we're gonna beat these guys, we need to lock up this one guy. It's not like because Atlanta they don't really have much else to offer in terms of attacking threat, and especially in the playoffs, we know what Trey can be. So I think Miami just got it perfect.
yeah,
And no one really expected that because, like you said, a lot of people have kind of not slept on, but just like seen Miami this regular season, and they've not
yeah,
been amazing despite them finishing the first seed, which makes no sense. But I think they just showed that when it comes to the playoffs, with the amount of like you know playoff experience they have in their team,
mm-hmm.
that they can get right when they need to. And I mean, they pushed Atlanta to the side, and now comes a real tester with them and Philly because
Yeah,
it's two teams that are hungry.
yeah,
Miami, they haven't really been the same since they got beat in the finals by the Lakers, and Philly, we know how Embiid's dying for this chip. Like, he's done everything to try and get it. He even got Ben Simmons away, so he wants it. And I mean, now it's going to prove, did they just get lucky against the OK team, or has everyone slept on them? And I
mm-hmm.
think that series is going to prove which way we've been looking at.
Yeah. I mean, it will come down to if they can do to James Harden what they did to Trae Young, because it's not even
Oh,
like
100%.
they guarded Trae Young perfectly 4 games out of 5, and Trae
Yeah,
had a big offensive game in one game, like DeRozan in the Bucks series.
yeah,
They guarded Trae literally perfectly every single game.
yeah,
The game that Atlanta won, they won it by 1 point, and they had to make a bit of a run in the fourth to get it done as well.
yeah,
They were very close to getting swept in that series, and I don't think anybody would be expecting that. But let's be honest,
100%.
other than Game 5, which was the only game that Jimmy Butler wasn't involved in, um, pretty straightforward. Wins for Miami there. Victor Oladipo came in instead of Jimmy Butler and dropped 23 points on his first playoff start for the Miami Heat, and it just goes to show the depth that Miami have. It's mental. It's not just solid role player depth. It's legit like all-star level depth almost.
100%. I completely agree. And I think the way that they came in that series was just like it's what you see in terms of like when you look at experience and the way players like get right, because like the regular season, like we've mentioned so many times, it's important in terms of like getting the right, like getting in the top 8, or well, top 6 now really, because top 8 it doesn't really mean anything anymore. um but then it's about performing, because like for example, like we mention all the time, Utah, they just don't have that level of
Yeah,
depth and
they don't have what it
experience when it.
takes. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, they have
100%.
experience. They just don't.
Well,
They have experience getting knocked out in the first round every time.
they don't have
That's their experience.
longevity experience.
Um, no, but yeah,
That's
yeah,
also, that is so confusing though, because as a team, if you get knocked out in the first round every single year, surely that makes you more hungry to like not get knocked out in the first round. Like, it makes no sense.
Hey,
It's just unexplainable. Like,
maybe we should, just talk to Rudy about it. I'm pretty sure he's a big fan of the podcast too, like Kat.
oh yeah, he's definitely
Yeah.
a big fan. After
I
like,
actually he messaged me directly after the last episode, said he really liked your Rudy Gobert impression.
I knew he was gonna say that.
Uh,
I'm sure
yeah, he really liked it.
I'm sure he was a big fan.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, swiftly moving on. I don't really have a segue. But Miami's opponents are going to be Philly, and my question to you is, because I was thinking it, I think about 60% of NBA Twitter were thinking it. Doc Rivers, Mr. blows 3-1 leads for fun. Did we think that he was going to be the first coach to blow a 3-0 lead in the NBA playoffs?
Honestly, I was probably one of the only people that genuinely thought he was going to pull through. I saw a lot of people, and I remember you telling me as well, like he's going to blow the 3-1. And I was, I just thought that Toronto would just well, especially like at the second home game, they were good. But and like we mentioned, the Toronto home crowd is always something. And even the game that Philly won in Toronto, it was very close. It was very, very close.
Yeah, and that's another thing I was going to say. The game that Philly went 3-0 up in, it was a Embiid game winner in overtime.
Yeah,
If Embiid misses that, Toronto win that game, Philly will have just won game 6 to tie it 3-3.
yeah. So it'd
Obviously,
have been
butterfly effect. If
yeah.
Toronto win that and it's 2-1, maybe
And then they take
Philly,
the second game and it's 2-2, and or
maybe
maybe they don't take it
yeah.
and
So you never know, but hypothetically, say everything happened as it went, we'd be going to a game 7 here.
100%.
So I think
But
Toronto
that's
again put a decent out in for themselves. We were talking about the New Orleans series earlier. I don't
mm,
think Philly definitely didn't have as much to lose as Phoenix did in the way that they were expected to win, but they weren't expected to win as much as Phoenix were expected to win.
yeah,
But Toronto didn't really have anything to lose. Their season wasn't championship or bust. They've still got a decent young core. Scotty
100%.
Barnes coming in has just made that even better. And Scotty Barnes getting injured, I feel like could have been a bit of a
I mean, as well, seeing the way that it played out. I mean, it was 4-2. Like it wasn't exactly like a blowout.
no.
But if Scotty Barnes isn't getting injured, I like are Philly taking that Toronto game, that first game, or are they, like we mentioned, going to a game 7? Maybe like you know they don't go to a game 7 and they game 6 they're out. Like that's maybe like Philly aren't cut out for the playoffs like we think should be.
I think
And
I think they are. I think it just all depends on whether James Harden is cut out for making a championship run. We
because
saw,
I
I'd
mean,
say last night was probably his first good playoff game this year.
yeah,
And,
that's
he did end up, he finally hit that double step back and everyone was going crazy. Drake wasn't in the front row, I don't think.
yeah.
Um,
That's one thing I'm gonna miss about the rest of the playoffs, man. I
no
love when
Drake.
Drake's there clowning on the players. Like,
No, man, he's going to be at the front row for every Philly game now.
oh yeah,
He's switched
definitely,
it up. He's
definitely.
Embiid's biggest fan now.
He's gonna no, he's gonna play off the curse. I remember in the year the Toronto um won the championship and they were playing Philly when Kawhi hit that shot. He was wearing like Philly shorts or something, and he cursed them when they lost.
Yeah,
He
but
might have to. He might curse them again.
yeah, you never know. You never know. So saying that, for the Miami game, do we think that James Harden is going to come through, or do we think that, like I said before, do we think Miami are going to do what they did to Trae Young on James Harden?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but the thing is, it would be different for this series as well because they won't just have to do it to James
That's
Harden. We
true.
know they've got
That's true.
Tyrese Maxey. We know Embiid can drop 30 plus, and it's like they're gonna have to distribute the way their defense sets these players. And
Mhm.
let's say they double team on Harden
Mhm.
most of the game, then either Tyrese Maxey is gonna be open or something,
Yeah.
and all Harden's gonna do is pass to him. Tyrese, we know he's hot right now.
Mhm.
Embiid, get the ball to him. We know he's dunking on someone. Like, I think this series is going to be completely. Miami are going to have to play completely different, and I do think they are going to like center their defense around how to just stop James Harden because that is like he obviously the way he's their point guard and everything, and the way everything goes around him and stuff, and that he's like the center, like everything moves through him. He's either drawing fouls or he's hitting threes or he's getting the assists. Like
Mhm.
if they can stop that, then it will be a big reason
Yeah.
if they go and win the series. But they won't have to solely defend him like the way they solely defended
Yeah.
Trey. I feel like it'll have to be a little bit different. But I'm excited to see how they're going to come because like they were coached perfectly in that last series.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to see if they can double it up
Mhm.
into the semis.
So, do we reckon that this will work? What we're predicting for this series?
I feel like it could go either way, honestly. But I'm gonna I have some faith in Philly, so I'm gonna say Philly will do it. But I think it's gonna be a 7.
I need to stop asking you first, and you need to
I
get
thought
out.
you were
And
gonna
you need to
ask
get out
me
of my head.
second this
You
time.
need to get out
I
of my
thought
head.
you were gonna ask me second this time.
Oh man, no, but I think
I'll-
37. I need to stop
I,
asking you first. I'm not asking you
I
first for the
mean,
next one.
but this is the thing. It could go either way. Like it could be Miami in 7. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm happy to. I'm happy to change it. To be fair, because I'll happily change it. Because you changed it for me last time, so I'll change it.
Miami in 7.
I'll go Miami in 7.
Okay, okay.
I won't be surprised if it's either way. To be honest, I think
Right.
either team could step into this final.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mm,
I think it also does come down to Embiid. Do we think that he'll be able to do it against big teams? We always say
big question.
the
Big
big
question.
downside of Embiid's game is that I'm not saying he start pads, but he does have good games against weaker teams. And then when it
Yeah.
comes to the big teams, he can go missing. Not all the time, but sometimes he can go missing. So I do think it all depends on that.
100%.
I do think Philly are going to win it in 7 though. And then we will move on to the final.
This is the big one.
semi-final. Lot to talk about. Should we
100%.
start off? Should we start off with the most unlikeliest of sweeps? This is the only
Never
sweep.
expected it,
The only sweep
which is crazy.
in the first round. And
There should
Kevin
have been
Durant
at
was
least
on
like
the exit.
3.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mad. It is mad.
Like the first game happened, and we were saying, is this going to be the one of the closest, best series ever? Maybe I gave a bit of a curse there on that one. In the end, not in particularly blowout games. Like Boston only won, like the biggest margin that Boston won by was by 7. So not in particularly blowout games, but Boston ended up coming through, dropping a sweep on Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, which I don't think anyone was expecting.
But literally, I think the odds of that happening were literally next to nothing. Like even Brooklyn taking a game, even when when Boston were up 3-0, you'd expect them to at least 3-1 or something. But I was shocked seeing this whole series play out the way it played out, especially the way Kyrie performed in the first game. Despite that loss, you thought, okay, like we both thought this is going to make for an amazing series.
Yeah.
And I guess it just goes to show the way Boston and their mentality where it's at right now, because they have the championship mentality right now. They went into the Brooklyn series and everyone was like, oh, it's going to be tough for them. They might go to 6, they might go to 7, they might get beat in 5 before the first game. And they just blocked it all out. And sweeping Brooklyn has to be the craziest thing. Because if we go back to if we go to the start of the year and you tell a Brooklyn fan, or when the playoffs start, you're going to have KD and Kyrie playing, but you won't have James Harden, but you'll have Kyrie, but you're going to get swept by Boston. No one's believing that. Absolutely nobody. Especially if you go to pre-All-Star game, Boston are going to sweep Brooklyn.
Yeah. No.
You're not believing it.
Yeah.
So I think Boston have just they just turned everything around, and I think right now, in my opinion,
Genuine championship contenders.
100%, and should be the most feared team in the playoffs right now.
But
Because
they may be the most feared team in the playoffs right now. Well, that's probably because they scared Ben Simmons into not playing Game 4.
yeah, that's mad. That is mad. I mean, I'm not surprised. If I was Ben Simmons, I wouldn't have played Game 4 either. Imagine your first game in however long, and it's the game where you're joined by KD and Kyrie probably getting swept. I wouldn't want to play that game either, I'm not going to lie. But I mean,
It's the
he
fact
probably
that
knew that.
he said, "I'm gonna be back for game 4," and then as soon
Yeah,
as Boston went 3-0 up, he was like, "Oh damn,
I'm not
my
back.
flight to Cancun's a week early. What do I do, man? That's a shame. I mean, good luck though, guys. But it's a bit of a shame. I'm not gonna be there.
It's all good though. You
I'll
guys will
send
be
you
fine.
I'll send you a postcard. I'll send you good luck. I might FaceTime you maybe. It's
Nets in 7. Don't worry,
yeah. Don't
boys.
worry,
It's
man.
calm
I'll book another flight back early. When
for game
for
7. I'll
game
watch you.
7. Don't worry, guys.
I'm back for game 7. It's funny though. Like, but I think if they can keep their squad, obviously they'll have Ben Simmons starting the season. Then I think okay.
Yeah.
Now they're serious
Okay,
because
so yeah. Okay,
I don't think
here's a
KD and
question.
Kyrie are
Here's a
going
question
anywhere.
for you.
Okay.
I'm go through each of the other playoff teams in the East,
Hmm.
and you're gonna tell me if Brooklyn get a 7-game win over them. So
Is that with Ben Simmons?
no, even like just as they are now.
In general,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So because what I'm thinking is this Brooklyn just being a bit dead? Because let's be honest, even though Durant and Kyrie may not have shown up, they still pretty much contributed to like half of Brooklyn's points throughout the
Mm.
whole thing. Boston did have really good defense. Do we think they'll beat Miami in a 7-game series? Just yes or no? Just quick fire.
Yeah.
Who finished that? Who finished second? Boston did. Never mind. Milwaukee.
No.
Philly.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Toronto.
Yes.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Sorry, bro.
Nah, that's understandable. Atlanta.
Yeah.
So from what you've just said there, the only other team that you think are beating Brooklyn in a 7-game series this year are Milwaukee. So are we thinking that this is just a bit of a unfortunate first round?
I think it's both. I think it's an unfortunate first round, but also a great performance from
Mm-hmm.
Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, especially KD first game, horrific. I'm not gonna lie, horrific. Like, one of the best, if not the best, player in the NBA. Definitely the best scorer in the NBA right now. He should not be performing like that. Not in round 1 in the playoffs. Never. So, and sometimes these things happen. These players don't turn up, and unfortunately for Kyrie and KD, their help isn't amazing.
Yeah.
But if they're turning up on a good day, they're crazy. Like we saw last year, KD and Harden some games because I know he didn't play every game. They were great in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
and like we say every time, we're that close to making it,
Mm-hmm.
which is mad.
Yeah, yeah.
And that just shows the difference between when you're on form or when you're not.
Yeah.
But unlucky for them,
Yeah.
they just weren't. But also, they weren't on form. But Boston were very much on
I want
form.
to say you say that they are the scariest team to play at the moment. They'll be playing Milwaukee, and well, what's the scariest team in the NBA got against the scariest player in the NBA at the
I
moment?
think this is a perfect matchup. I think it's an absolute perfect matchup. Like I think this will be the best game in the whole playoffs or the best series. I the only other series I can think that would be like challenging for entertainment is when Golden State eventually meet Phoenix because it's going to happen. Like it's the inevitable. I think one of the, like you said, the scariest man in the NBA, one of the best scorers, one of the most dangerous players in the NBA who will
And from watching him as a Chicago fan over the last 4-5
Mm,
games, a very underrated passer in the NBA.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
You know,
Like
the Bulls ended up just triple teaming him every single time down the court, and he was finding the open man with ease there, and they were draining them threes. The Bulls missed Lonzo. You could definitely tell that
oh yeah,
because
100%,
even
100%.
on the other way, the I'll say the Bucks were doing the same to DeRozan, but really all they were doing was just putting Drew Holiday and then the old other person on there. Drew Holiday is one of the best defenders in the NBA, man. It's so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, the
But
guy was crazy.
yeah, like I said, DeRozan had that one big game, and then whenever he had to rely on his other players to carry the load, didn't work. When Giannis had to rely on his other players to carry the load. Ultimately, it did. Bobby Portis, Grayson Allen, not players who you're thinking they're flashy, they're gonna do everything on the court, but they're just there to do a job. Grayson Allen's there to shoot threes. Bobby Portis is there to grab a few rebounds when Giannis is not on the court and also shoot threes. And they both do that
100%.
perfectly. Especially after game 2 for Grayson Allen.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
That was crazy.
Milwaukee, we may say that they're a one-man team. Ultimately, they do have good role players around them. Can we expect them to do the same against Boston, who have a way better defensive rating than Chicago? Most definitely not, I don't think. And especially given that Chris Middleton is reportedly not going to be back for the second for this series against Boston, like not even going to be there, even if it goes 7. I think, and I'm going to get this in before you come and
I was gonna say
screw me
you
up
can
with
answer
anything.
first.
Boston are winning in 6.
In 6?
Boston in
I
6.
like it.
Yeah.
It's a tough one because I think it's gonna go to 7 again. But at the same time, see, this is 2 extremes now. This is 2 very big extremes. I think it's gonna go to 7. This is like one side, and it could go anyone's. Or I think Boston are gonna do it in 5. Absolute crazy hot take. I know no one's thinking that, but I don't know, man. It's crazy, but I'm gonna say Boston 5.
Oh man, look, if this ends up happening, that's big from you. That's really big from you.
You know, I come nice with predictions. You do know I like to come nice, and I mean because I slept on Boston a lot in the last predictions and a lot throughout the year. I'm gonna stop that now, and I think they're gonna just become and probably have one of the most underrated, biggest comeback seasons of all time, and they're gonna beat Milwaukee. And if they do, no matter what, whether they get smoked in the finals, it would be probably one of the most biggest success stories without winning a championship ever, or what, definitely up there.
Yeah, don't you think it's crazy? Just random thought now that Boston never seem to go through a rebuilding period. Like they're just always in the playoffs all the time.
Every single year.
Yeah, and you're always thinking maybe they could do it. Like even in 2018, obviously, was it 2018 when they got to they got to the Eastern Conference Finals, ended up losing to LeBron. Obviously the East weren't very good there, but neither were Boston, and they still managed to grind it through. They were relying on rookie Jason Tatum, and that team has grown so much right now. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, best duo in the league potentially.
It's definitely up there.
You could say second to the Splash Bros, but I'd say
they're definitely top.
Definitely top 2.
2, top 3, yeah.
And I think they're gonna pull it through without many problems. If I'm honest with you, I think there's potential that they might end up being 3-1 up after 4 games. Maybe they'll have a bit of a lazy game at the Garden at Game 5, and that'll teach them how to be a little bit more ruthless in Game 6.
I think they'll take both home games, 1 game out of Milwaukee, and then the 5th game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But that concludes pretty much our little mini review into predictions, kind of thing. It's a bit different. Usually we just go review predictions, but this was like a little bit of both in the.
We built it up nicely.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. We had decent segues, little connections there. I liked it. Make sure if you did like it that you are leaving a like on the video. Make sure that you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. Share it out on YouTube as well. Grow the family. If you listen to any other podcast platform, make sure you're sharing that out too. And Sully, one question. Are we ready for the Eastern Conference and Western Conference semifinals?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
We definitely are.
We will see you guys next week as the conference semifinals gets underway. And we will see you guys then. Peace.